Welcome back. Now, the Supreme Court on Friday dismissed the appeal of the Senate President Bukola Saraki seeking to stop his trial at the Code of Conduct Tribunal. The Senate President had been charged before the Code of Conduct Tribunal to answer to allegations of corruption leveled against him by the Code of Conduct Bureau. He pled not guilty to all 13 charges leveled against him, describing them as false and frivolous, adding that the charges were calculated to rubbish him. Saraki had actually filed an appeal against his trial at the CCT, arguing that the tribunal was not properly constituted. He lost that appeal before heading to the Supreme Court. In his appeal at the Supreme Court, Saraki had argued through his lead counsel, Joseph Daudu, that the appellate court erred in law when it affirmed the competence of the proceedings of the Code of Conduct Tribunal, which sat on the said case with only 2 members as against the 3 provided for in the provisions of paragraph 15.1 of the 5th schedule of the 1999 Constitution, of course, they will say as amended. However, the Apex Court has now ruled against him and affirmed the Court of Appeal judgment that the Code of Conduct Tribunal is validly constituted. I still have Chief Godwin Wazirike and Libros Oshoma to talk more about this. Libros, let me start with you. Does this judgment surprise you at all? Were you expecting something different?
I wasn't expecting anything different because I had had cause to discuss this with a friend also. Even though the Code of Conduct Tribunal, the constitution of the Code of Conduct Tribunal judges, paragraph 15.1 did states that there shall be 3 panel members and a president, a chairman, and then it didn't talk about quorum. We also know that if you resort to Interpretation Act and all other laws, where even at the Supreme Court also, where an act makes provision for a panel, it does not mean that for the fact that the act is silent on the quorum does not mean that every member of that panel must be present before the panel sit. In every case, in all cases, we know that when you have a member of a panel, you now begin to look at what forms a quorum. In most cases, 2/3 of such a panel. And in this case, out of 3, you have 2. And then you have 2, and you have the chairman and another member, and you are insisting that a quorum had not, since the law specifically mentioned that there shall be 3 members, and it's compulsory that the 3 members must sit. And for me, even when the Court of Appeal did uphold the position of the Code of Conduct Tribunal, I did say Saraki, he had described these allegations as frivolous and targeted at rubbishing him. So I presume that he should have a defense to it. And so if you have a good defense to it, why chase shadows? And what are these shadows? You're looking at the constitution of the panel and not looking at the substance, the merit or demerit of the case. So when you argue, and then with the fact that, they wanted a stay of proceedings and all of that, and the Supreme Court did say, okay, well, wait, just hold on, we'll grant accelerated hearing this matter. Some of us also raised an eyebrow on that position, but now, no matter how long it took, the Supreme Court had made a pronouncement that the panel is properly constituted. So Saraki, go back and face your charges. If there's any defense to it, you go file your defense and then answer to all the queries that you have. It should be a good way to start. And then for me, I wonder those people that are calling the Supreme Court justices names in that election petition. I wonder what they will say this time with this one.
Chief Wazirike, let me get your reaction to this decision. This verdict by the Supreme Court now on the Senate President's case?
I think that ruling is expected. It's expected in the sense that the courts must maintain the dignity of all parts of the judiciary, including an executive tribunal like the CCT. It is expected because if you don't allow them to even come to a finding or a decision, then it means that anybody who is there will simply bring a petition challenging whatever it is that is going on there. Remember that it is still a peripheral matter. It is not yet the substance of the matter. As it is today, they're saying, President of the Senate, go and face a trial. If the judgment goes against you, you can come back and we look at the substance. As it is today, there is really nothing much That's my understanding of what has just happened today. And I commend the Supreme Court for upholding the dignity
But
of
I
the
must
courts.
ask you, because both of you are lawyers here, I must ask you, how come, for instance, his lawyer did not see this coming and probably advise him properly? I don't get it. Why waste all this time?
Let me put it, every lawyer has his own style. Saraki's lawyer won a major case, remember, this week at the Supreme Court. And today, he lost a ruling. So as lawyers, we go and come, we win some, we lose some. But every lawyer works according to the dictates of his own style of practice. In other words, I'm sure his lawyer believes that he has a point to prove, and that's why he moved up. But also, there is a problem there. There's a trap there. If, for instance, the two-member tribunal, a ruling is given, or a judgment is given, and the first one says, I find him liable, he loses his seat. Second one says, I do not find him liable, he does not lose his seat. What is the judgment of the tribunal then? And in court, there's nothing like a draw. There is nothing like a draw. There must be a winner. And if it is a two-man panel, it's a problem waiting to happen. And it will happen unless a third member comes in.
Libros, I want you to say something to that.
Yes, I get.
And very quickly,
Chief.
in the course of this trial, is it of course a third member can actually be appointed?
Yes, yes, definitely in the course of the trial, because as we speak, also the members of the Code of Conduct Tribunal, it's a third member can be appointed in the course of the trial, because you just have two members now.
Because Chief actually has a point.
Yes, and so it's a warning also to the executive to, avert their mind to that lacuna, that loophole, because it might happen. You can't say it would happen, because there are issues, and these are two different persons. It depends on the way they see the position of the law, and so you don't wait until it happens before you do the right thing. And for me, on the issue of appealing, I want to think that was the crux of Saraki's lawyer's argument, to the effect that, no, these are just two members. And what if in the event that, they disagree on a position? What would be the verdict of the court at that instant? And so to that, like most lawyers will do, they will tell you, look, I'm not done with this point. We need to take it upstairs. Until we get upstairs, let's stretch the law. And these are ways also you stretch the jurisprudence of the law.
Let me quickly put you on the spot, both of you now. Starting with you, actually, Chief Waziriki. If there was a draw in a case, so to speak, what happens?
There can be no draw.
If there is a draw, as in this case.
Yeah, if there was a draw in a case, let's say as in this case now, what happens? There's no judgment.
Well, it means that Saraki walks away. Saraki walks away if there is a draw. It means that the trial has failed, and in the language of civil law, it's a non-suit. In other words, the case is abandoned. And I cannot see any member joining midway through the trial. That's the other angle to this thing.
Oh, really?
For you, yes, no, you can't join. If the case has commenced, and I've had some, and then you come in and you become a member, and then you want to decide based on what you did not know when that issue came up. In other words, as it is today, Saraki's case is going to lead us into a lot of problems, if and only if there is a draw. If there is a draw, people will scream.
Yeah, Libros, please.
But basically, the trial proper had not commenced. So there is still room for the government to do the right thing. The trial had not commenced. What we still have at the preliminary stage is plea was taken, and then there was an objection as to the constitution, the panel, yes. And so the government still had an opportunity to appoint a third member and start de novo and start afresh, because they had not commenced properly. But in the event that you allow it to go on, and then you now begin to bring a third member, I know Saraki's lawyer would challenge,
That.
you know, that
be a
position.
grounds for another appeal.
Exactly, that would be a ground for another appeal, and you know, further delaying, you know, this process. And so that is why, for some of us, we had expected that there is need for you to put your house in order, do the right thing before you take steps. And so that's where also I had problem with this cry by the president that the judiciary is his headache. And I asked the question, what is your panacea? What is your analgesic to that headache?
Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for joining us on the program. Chief Godwin Wazirike, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your incisive contributions as always. Liberals, as always, thank you very much for coming on the program.
My pleasure.
Thank you, gentlemen, for everything. Well, we'll take another break, but coming up, Zika virus spreads across the world, but just how vulnerable is Nigeria? Stay with us. Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on DEJI360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.